So a man shoots a lion and the whole world just goes absolutely crazy, just loses its mind. The lion, Cecil, was the most famous lion in all of Zimbabwe, and he was shot with a bow and arrow by a dentist from Minnesota named Walter Palmer, who is now the most hated man in all the world. He's received death threats. People have threatened to destroy his business, and he's had to go into hiding. Literally, the hunter has become the hunted. The other day, Mia Farrow tweeted his home address, which can't be for any other reason that she hoped that people would get all medieval and visit his front door with a bit of mob justice. But this story has been rumbling on for days now on every media platform that there is. Jimmy Kimmel on his show the other night got all wet-eyed and shaky-lipped when he was talking about Cecil. The madness is just out of control. The Zimbabweans want to extradite Palmer and prosecute him for the murder of Cecil the Lion. So now even the White House is involved, and people have been protesting and holding up signs, calling for justice, calling Palmer a murderer, and one sign even said, "I am Cecil." But the level of outrage is just off the scale right now. And everyone has forgotten about Sandra Bland. Everyone has forgotten about the controversial nature of her arrest and the very strange circumstances surrounding her death. All of that has been forgotten now. It's yesterday's news. Now, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Quite frankly, I don't have enough life to waste chasing after conspiracy theories. So I'm not necessarily saying that she was definitely dead in that mugshot. Although I will be honest and say that when I first saw the picture, when the story broke here in the UK, I did think that there was something funny about the way that she looked in the picture. But that doesn't mean that she was dead. It doesn't mean I believe she was. And I'm not saying necessarily that the police did kill that woman. She may well have taken her own life. But whatever the case may be, it seems that there is more to this story than meets the eye. It seems to be a catastrophic failure on the part of the police where that woman is concerned. Whether she died at their hands or not, she died in their hands. And it just seems to be such a shame that everything now just has been swept away and no one cares anymore because a lion got shot. And just the same as no one cares about Sam Dubose, which is extraordinary to me, because when Mike Brown was shot, the outrage nearly tore the country in half. And I'm not advocating any kind of violence. I certainly can't condone any of the rioting or the looting that took place when Mike Brown died. But I'm just saying that the level of outrage across the United States was huge when Mike Brown died. And it had already diminished by the time Walter Scott was shot dead. And so now Sam Dubose, another black man, being blasted by another white policeman. Now that's happened. There's no commotion at all. There's no coverage of this story at all. And you'd think that the more times that this happened, the more people would be angry and the more likely it would be that some kind of change would happen as a result. But it seems to be the opposite, that the more it happens, the more people become desensitized to it all. And, it's almost like, well, this is the same thing that happened last week and the same thing that happened last month and last year. And so even though it's a new death, it's old news. And no one is saying anything about Sam Dubose. Just the same as no one said anything about the terrible injustice of the Rekia Boyd verdict. Some of you are even saying right now, well, who is Rekia Boyd? This is a beautiful young woman who was shot dead, shot in the head by an off-duty policeman waving his gun around. And that man has now been set free without any conviction whatsoever. So he's going to live the rest of his life walking around under the blue sky with the sun on him, something that Rekia Boyd should be doing right now, but can't do on account of her being dead at the hands of this policeman. But no one cares about this stuff. No one is saying anything about this stuff. But when a lion gets shot, everybody loses their minds. And then there's this odious woman, Cecile Richards, whose organization Planned Parenthood murders children. Now, it's well known that they murder children. But it's recently come to light that not only do they murder children, but some of those murdered children are actually cut up and the parts are being sold. Hearts, lungs, livers, muscles are being chopped up and they're being sold. And this extraordinary revelation has been met with zero commotion, because that's how far our society has fallen. That's how blinded we are. That's how desensitized and distracted we've become. That something like this doesn't create any commotion whatsoever. Of course, Christian people like me are outraged, but then again, we're always offended by abortion. So it's not like this has created some kind of feeling in us that wasn't already there. But then dear Cecile comes on camera and defends her death factory by denying that Planned Parenthood is killing babies and selling the parts. And she very cleverly changes the words and switches the meanings and alters the phrasing to tell us what they really do, which is nothing less than killing babies and selling the parts. And then Cecile has the gall to say on camera, the unmitigated nerve to say that what they're doing there at Planned Parenthood is enabling life-saving research. She says it without any sense of irony whatsoever. That's how dead she is inside. Life-saving research, she says. Life-saving by life-taking. Denying one life today, crushing one life now, in the hope that you might be able to advantage some life in the future, providing, of course, that life isn't also crushed by Planned Parenthood. And the response to all of this is pitiful, it's shameful. When a lion gets shot in Africa, the White House goes into action, but Barack Obama has nothing to say about this because, of course, he favors abortion, and he and Cecile Richards are firm friends, they're bosom buddies, so he doesn't have any comments to make about this. I should congratulate the Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, who made a very brave and very passionate statement in response to the Planned Parenthood story, and I've put the link to that statement down below. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a very genuine and moving statement from a politician, which is very rare from politicians nowadays. And look, I know this video is called American Outrage, and I suppose that's just to get your attention, but it's exactly the same over here in England where I'm from. When Cecil the Lion got shot, all the media jumped on it and they reported it incessantly. On the other hand, Sandra Bland was something that we heard about in passing. It reached us briefly and it was covered ever so lightly before they moved on to, I suppose, what they consider more important news. The Sam Dubose story hasn't been spoken of here at all, not that I've seen. Likewise, the Planned Parenthood story, this extraordinary expose on Planned Parenthood hasn't been mentioned once at all in Great Britain because it's not worth speaking on for us. It's not newsworthy for us. That's how corrupt and how bankrupt, morally bankrupt society has become. So that Americans killing thousands of babies, and just wait to hear what I'm saying, because I know that abortion is epidemic here in my country too. So I'm not saying that you're doing something that we're not doing. Just listen and hear me out. Americans killing thousands of babies and chopping up some of those babies to sell the parts doesn't get a single mention here in the UK. But one American killing one lion in Africa causes wall-to-wall news coverage to take place in my country. That's a mystery to me. I can't understand that imbalance, how things can be so out of proportion. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't have any tears for Sandra Bland. He doesn't have any tears for Sam Dubose. He shed them all on Cecil the Lion. I'm pretty sure that you're not anytime soon going to see Mia Farrow tweeting the home address of Cecile Richards. It's not going to happen. Look, make no mistake about it. The death of Cecil the Lion is terrible, but the death of Sandra Bland is more terrible. The death of a woman in a jail cell that she should not have been in is more terrible. The death of Sam Dubose is more terrible. The injustice of Rekia Boyd is more terrible. But these things are not being spoken on. And the tragedy of thousands upon thousands of human children, babies, being torn to pieces, and those pieces being sold is one of the worst things happening in the world right now. But no one cares. Besides, There are more important things happening in the world anyway. Did you hear that a lion got killed?